6 months after the humans left, the first plague returned. It began on a small moon called Tessara, home to a peaceful species called the Keleth. They were gentle creatures with soft gray skin and large black eyes. They had no army. They had no weapons. They spent their days growing flowers and singing songs. The galaxy had always protected them because they were kind. Now the galaxy could not even protect itself. The plague was old. Very old. It had killed millions of callous centuries ago, before anyone could remember. Then the humans came. A doctor named Yuna had studied the disease for 10 years. She had created a vaccine that stopped it forever. The Keleth had celebrated for a month. They had built a statue of Yuna in their capital city. They had called her a hero. Yuna had smiled and said it was nothing. She was just doing her job. Now Yuna was gone. And the vaccine was running out. The Keleth leader, an old woman named Kira, sent a message to the Galaxy Council. Her voice shook as she spoke. Please, we need more vaccine. Our children are dying. Our elders are dying. We have only enough medicine for 2 more weeks. Councillor Vrel received the message in his office. He stared at it for a long time. Then he called his medical advisors. Can we make more vaccine? He asked. The advisors looked at each other nervously. Finally, the oldest one spoke. Counselor, the vaccine formula was created by Dr. Yuna. She was a human. She took her research with her when she left. Then recreate it, Vrel said impatiently. We have scientists. We have laboratories. How hard can it be? Very hard, Counselor. Dr. Yuna spent 10 years developing that vaccine. Our scientists have been trying to copy it for 4 months. They have failed every time. Human medicine is different from ours. Different how? The advisor hesitated. Humans think differently than we do. Their solutions are strange, unexpected. They see connections that we cannot see. Dr. Yuna's vaccine uses techniques we have never seen before. We do not understand how it works. Vrel slammed his hand on his desk. Then find someone who does understand. But there was no one. The humans had been the galaxy's healers for 50 years. They had cured diseases on 100 worlds. They had saved millions of lives. And they had done it so quietly, so humbly, that no one had noticed. Until now. On Tessara, the children began to die. Kira watched them burn the bodies every night. She stood on a hill above her city and watched the smoke rise into the purple sky. Her people were disappearing. Her world was dying, and no one could help. She thought about the statue of Yuna in the city square. It showed a young human woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile. The Keleth had carved words at the base of the statue. The healer who saved us. Now the healer was gone, and the Keleth were dying again. Kira sent another message to the council. Then another. Then another. Each time, the answer was the same. We are working on a solution. Please, be patient. But patience was a luxury that the dying could not afford. The plague spread. First Tessara, then 3 nearby worlds, then 10, then 50. Hospitals filled with sick and dying creatures. Doctors worked day and night, but they could not stop the disease. The medicines they had did not work. The treatments they tried made things worse. Everything they knew was useless. Delegate Mora visited one of the hospitals on her home world. She walked through the crowded halls, looking at the faces of the sick. They were scared. They were in pain. They were losing hope. A young doctor stopped her in the corridor. He was exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes and blood on his coat. Delegate Mora, he said, his voice breaking. We cannot keep doing this. We are losing patients every hour. We need the humans. We need their medicine. We need their knowledge. Mora nodded slowly. I know. I have been saying this for months. The council does not listen. Then make them listen, the doctor said desperately. These people are dying. Children are dying. How many more must we lose before the council understands? Mora had no answer. That night, she went to Counselor Vrel's office. She found him sitting alone in the dark, staring at reports on his screen. The light from the screen made his gray face look old and tired. "Vrel," she said softly, "we need to talk." He did not look at her. "I know why you are here. You want me to contact the humans." "Yes. And say what?" "Please come back. We are sorry. We need you." He laughed bitterly. "They will laugh at us, just like we laughed at them." Mora sat down across from him. "Maybe they will. Maybe we deserve it. But we have to try. Our people are dying, Vrel. Not just mine. Not just yours. Everyone. The whole galaxy is sick, and we cannot cure it." Vrel was silent for a long moment. Then he turned off his screen and looked at her. In the darkness, she could see tears in his 4 eyes. "I was wrong," he whispered. "I was so wrong about them. I thought they were weak. I thought they were nothing. But they were holding us together. All of us. And I never saw it." "None of us did," Mora said gently. "We were blind. But we can see now. And we can change. Can we?" Vrel asked. "After everything we did? After 50 years of insults and disrespect? Why would they ever trust us again?" Mora reached across the desk and took his hand. "Because they are human. And humans forgive. It is one of their strangest qualities. They forgive even when they should not. Even when they have every reason to hate." Vrel closed his eyes. He thought about Minho, standing alone in the great hall, listening to thousands of aliens laugh at him. He thought about the quiet dignity in the human's face, the calm acceptance, the lack of anger. He had not understood it then. Now he did. The humans had not left because they were weak. They had left because they were strong enough to walk away. Strong enough to say no. Strong enough to demand respect, and now the galaxy needed them. More than it had ever needed anything. "Send the message," Vrel said finally. "Tell them we want to talk." Mora nodded and stood up. At the door, she paused and looked back. "Vrel? What if they say no?" He opened his eyes and stared at the ceiling. "Then we will die. All of us. And we will deserve it." The message was sent that night. It flew across the stars toward the small blue planet called Earth. It carried words of apology, words of need, words of hope. On Tessara, the Keleth continued to die. Their songs fell silent. Their flowers wilted in gardens that no one tended. The statue of Una stood alone in an empty square, watching over a city of ghosts. The silence was spreading, and only the humans could stop it. The human ships flew across the galaxy like stars coming home. On every world they visited, crowds gathered to watch them land. Creatures of all shapes and sizes stood in silence as the human doctors stepped off their vessels, carrying medicine and hope. Children pointed at the sky. Elders wept openly. The helpers had returned. Dr. Una was the first to reach Tessa Ra. She had not wanted to come back. For 6 months, she had tried to forget the galaxy that had ignored her for 20 years. She had planted a garden on Earth. She had taught young students. She had found peace. But then she saw the reports. The plague on Tessara. The dying children. The empty cities. And she knew she could not stay home. Her garden would wait. Her peace would wait. Her people needed her. When her ship landed on Tessara, she found a world of ghosts. The streets were empty. The houses were dark. The beautiful gardens that the Keleth loved so much were brown and dead. Smoke rose from distant fires where bodies still burned. Una walked through the silent streets until she reached the city square. There, she stopped and stared. A statue stood in the center of the square. Her statue, the one the Caliph had built for her 20 years ago. It showed her as a young woman, smiling, with her hands stretched out in welcome dawn. But now the statue was covered in flowers. Thousands of flowers piled around the base, left by desperate hands. Some were fresh. Some were old and dry. All of them were prayers. Prayers to a healer who was gone. Prayers to a hero who had abandoned. Yuna fell to her knees and cried. A small hand touched her shoulder. She looked up and saw a Caliph child standing beside her. The child was thin and pale, with dark circles under her large black eyes. She was sick, maybe dying. "Are you really her?" The child whispered. "Are you the healer from the statue?" Yuna wiped her tears and nodded. "Yes, I am her. Did you come to save us?" Yuna pulled the child into her arms and held her tight. "Yes, little one. I came to save you. I came to save all of you. And I am never leaving again." She stood up, still holding the child, and walked toward the hospital. Behind her, more humans were landing. Doctors, nurses, engineers, builders. An army of helpers, ready to do what they did best. Ready to heal a broken galaxy. On world after world, the story was the same. The humans arrived, and everything changed. They fixed the jump gates. They cured the plagues. They rebuilt the cities. They fed the hungry. They healed the sick. They did not ask for thanks. They did not ask for payment. They simply worked hour after hour, day after day, until the job was done. Councillor Vrel traveled with them. He wanted to see with his own eyes. He wanted to understand. On the planet Korra, he watched a human engineer named Sunho repair a jump gate that had been broken for 4 months. The Tauran engineers had tried everything. They had failed. Sunho fixed it in 3 hours. "How did you do that?" Vrel asked, amazed. Sunho shrugged. "I just looked at it differently. Found the problem. Fixed it. But our engineers could not find the problem. They studied it for months." Sunho smiled. "Your engineers are very smart, but they think in straight lines. Humans think in circles. We see connections that others miss. It is not better or worse, just different." Rel thought about that for a long time. Different. Not better. Not worse. Just different. Maybe that was the secret. The galaxy had thousands of species, each with their own strengths. The Taurans were great leaders. The Caliph were wonderful artists. The Vorlon were amazing scientists. But the humans were different from all of them. Humans were connectors. They saw how things fit together. They found solutions in unexpected places. They built bridges between worlds and people and ideas. That was their gift. That was their power. On the planet Nera, Vrel watched a human soldier save an alien child from a burning building. The soldier's name was Jisoo. She was small, with short black hair and a scar on her cheek. She ran into the flames without hesitation, came out with the child in her arms, and handed it to its weeping parents. "Thank you," the father said, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you. How can I ever repay you?" Jisoo shook her head. "You do not need to repay me. Just remember. Remember that humans helped you today. Remember that we are your friends." The father nodded. "I will remember. I will tell my children. And they will tell their children. Forever." Jisoo smiled and walked away. She did not look back. Vrel watched her go. He thought about all the times humans had helped the galaxy. All the quiet moments. All the invisible acts. All the small kindnesses that no one noticed. The humans have been doing this for 50 years. Saving lives. Fixing problems. Building hope. And the galaxy had laughed at them. Ignored them. called them weak. The galaxy had been wrong. So very wrong. 1 year after the humans returned, the Galaxy Council held a special meeting. The Great Hall was full again, but this time the feeling was different. There was no arrogance, no superiority, only gratitude. Minho stood at the center of the floor, just as he had 1 year ago. But this time, no one laughed. This time, everyone listened. Councilor Vrel rose from his seat and walked down to stand beside the human ambassador. His 4 eyes were wet with tears. His voice shook as he spoke. 1 year ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. I laughed at humanity. I called them weak. I told them they were nothing. And they proved me wrong in ways I never imagined. He turned to face the thousands of delegates in the hall. In the past year, humans have saved more lives than I can count. They have fixed our gates. They have cured our plagues. They have fed our hungry and healed our sick. They did not ask for power. They did not ask for glory. They asked only to be seen, to be respected, to be equals. He took a deep breath. Today, I am proud to announce that humanity has been granted full membership in the Galaxy Council. They will have a vote. They will have a voice. They will stand beside us, not behind us. And they will help us build a better future for all. The hall exploded with cheers. Thousands of voices rose together, shouting and clapping and crying. For the first time in galactic history, every species was united. Every heart was full. Minho stood in the center of the storm, tears running down his face. Beside him, Hana gripped his hand. Behind him, Yuna and Sunho and Jisoo and hundreds of other humans smiled and wept and laughed. They had done it. They had finally been seen. Later that night, Minho stood alone on a balcony above the Great Hall. The stars stretched out before him, endless and beautiful. Somewhere out there was Earth, his home, his beginning. Vrel found him there, staring at the sky. "Ambassador," the counselor said softly. "May I join you?" Minho nodded. They stood together in silence for a long moment. "I have been thinking," Vrel said finally, "about power, about what it really means. And what have you decided?" Vrel looked at the human beside him. "I used to think power meant strength, armies, weapons, the ability to destroy. But I was wrong. True power is not destruction. True power is creation. True power is the ability to help, to heal, to build, to connect." He paused. "Humans are the most powerful species in the galaxy. Not because you can destroy worlds, but because you can save them. That is your gift. That is your strength. That is why the galaxy needed you." Minho smiled. "We are not powerful because we are special. We are powerful because we choose to be. Every human can choose hate or love, destruction or creation, selfishness or kindness. We choose kindness. That is all." Vrel nodded slowly. "That is everything." They stood together, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were flying. Human doctors were healing. Human engineers were building. Human hearts were beating with hope and love and the endless desire to help. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans were not weak. They were the strongest of all. And their strength would light the way forward through the darkness, toward a future where every species was equal, every voice was heard, and every heart was full. That was the revelation. That was the truth. That was the power of humanity, and it would last forever. The council ship arrived at Earth on a cold winter morning. Snow was falling gently over the landing field, covering the ground in a blanket of white. Councilor Vrel stepped off the ship and felt the cold air hit his face. He shivered. His species was not made for cold weather. Beside him stood Delegate Mora and 3 other council members. They had traveled for 2 weeks through normal space, since most of the jump gates were now broken. It was the longest journey any of them had ever made. They were tired, hungry, and scared. But they had come. Because they had no choice. A group of humans waited at the edge of the landing field. They stood in neat lines, wearing simple clothes, their breath making small clouds in the cold air. None of them smiled. None of them moved. Vrel walked toward them slowly, his feet crunching in the snow. He had never felt so small, so helpless, so afraid. At the front of the human group stood a tall man with broad shoulders and a hard face. His name was Taejun, and he was the commander of Earth's defense forces. Next to him was Minho, the ambassador who had walked out of the council 6 months ago. His face was calm, just like it had been that day. Vrel stopped a few feet away from them. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. What could he say? What words could possibly fix what had been broken? Minho spoke first. Counselor Vrel, we received your message. Yes, Vrel managed to say. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. We agreed to listen, Minho said. That is not the same as agreeing. Behind Vrel, Mora stepped forward. Ambassador Minho, Commander Taejin, we have come to apologize. On behalf of the Galaxy Council. On behalf of all the species we represent. We were wrong. We treated you badly. We ignored you. We insulted you. And we are sorry. Taejin's expression did not change. Sorry. That is an interesting word. Our people have a saying. Sorry does not bring back the dead. I know, Mora said quietly. Nothing can undo what we did. Nothing can give you back the years you spent being invisible. But we are here now. We are asking for help. Not because we deserve it, but because our people are dying. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button, and images appeared in the air between them. Images of sick children. Images of empty cities. Images of burning bodies and weeping families. The plague has spread to 70 worlds, Mara said, her voice shaking. Millions have died. Millions more will die soon. We have tried everything. Nothing works. We need your doctors. We need your medicine. We need you. The images flickered and faded. Silence filled the landing field. Snow continued to fall, gentle and quiet, as if the world was holding its breath. Taejin looked at the council members for a long moment. Then he turned to Minho. They exchanged a glance that Vrel could not read. Some silent communication passed between them. Finally, Taejin spoke. Follow me. He turned and walked away without waiting for an answer. The humans parted to let him through, then fell in behind him. Vrel and the others hurried to follow. They walked through the human city. It was not what Vrel expected. He had imagined poverty and struggle. Instead, he saw clean streets and happy people. Children played in parks covered with snow. Workers built new buildings with songs on their lips. Shops were full of goods. Markets were full of food. The humans were not suffering. They were thriving. How is this possible? Vrel whispered to Mora. They left everything behind. They started over with nothing. Mora shook her head in wonder. They did not start with nothing. They started with each other. Taejin led them to a large building in the center of the city. Inside, the walls were covered with screens showing maps and data. Hundreds of humans worked at desks, typing and talking. It looked like a command center. In the middle of the room, a woman with short gray hair was giving orders. She was old but strong, with sharp eyes and a voice that carried across the room. When she saw Taejin, she stopped and walked over. These are the council members? She asked. Yes, Taejin said. This is Councilor Vrel, Delegate Mora, and others. The woman nodded. I am Admiral Yoonji. I command Earth Fleet. Welcome to our planet. Vrel bowed his head. Thank you for receiving us, Admiral. Yunji did not smile. Do not thank me yet. I have not decided if I will help you. She led them to a small room with a table and chairs. They sat down, humans on one side, aliens on the other. The air was tense. Speak, Yunji said. Tell me why I should care about the galaxy that threw us away. Rel took a deep breath. This was his moment. His chance to save his people. He had to get it right. Admiral Yunji, he began. 6 months ago, I laughed at your ambassador. I told him that humanity was nothing, that the galaxy would be better without you. I was wrong. I was more wrong than I have ever been about anything in my life. He paused, gathering his courage. Since you left, everything has fallen apart. The jump gates are failing. Trade has collapsed. Plagues are spreading. People are starving, dying, losing hope. We tried to fix things ourselves, but we could not. We do not know how. We never learned because you were always there to do it for us. Yunji's expression remained cold. So we were useful. That is what you are saying. We were useful tools, and now you want your tools back. No, Rel said, shaking his head. You were never tools. That was our mistake. We saw you working quietly, asking for nothing, and we thought you were servants. But you were partners. You were friends. You were the heart of the galaxy, and we did not see it until you were gone. Tears began to fall from his 4 eyes. He did not try to hide them. Please, he whispered. I know we do not deserve your help. I know we do not deserve your forgiveness. But our children are dying. Our elders are dying. Our worlds are burning. We have nothing left but hope. And our hope is you. The room was silent. Yunji looked at Rel for a long time. Then she looked at Minho, who sat quietly in the corner. What do you think, Ambassador? She asked. Minho stood up and walked to the window. Outside, snow was still falling. Children were building snowmen in a park below. Their laughter drifted up through the glass. I think, he said slowly, that hate is easy. Forgiveness is hard. And humans have always chosen the hard path. He turned back to face the room. I think we should help them. Not because they deserve it, but because it is who we are. We are builders, not destroyers. We are healers, not haters. We left the galaxy because we were tired of being invisible. But being invisible does not change what we are. Yunji nodded slowly. And what are we? Minho smiled for the first time. We are human. And humans help those who need help. Even when they do not deserve it. Even when they never asked. That is our strength. That is our power. That is what makes us different from everyone else in the stars. Rel stared at the human ambassador. He finally understood. The humans were not powerful because of their technology or their armies. They were powerful because of their hearts. They could forgive. They could hope. They could love even when love was not returned. That was their true strength. And it was stronger than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Yunji stood up. Very well. We will help. But things will be different this time. No more servants. No more invisibility. If we return as equals. Equals, Rel repeated, tasting the word. It felt strange on his tongue. But it also felt right. Yes, he said. Equals. I promise. Yunji reached across the table and shook his hand. Her grip was strong. Then let us begin, she said. We have a galaxy to save. 3 months passed since the humans left. At first, nothing seemed different. The Galaxy Council continued its meetings. Trade ships flew between worlds. Life went on as it always had. Then the first jump gate failed. Jump gates were the heart of galactic travel. These massive rings floated in space, creating tunnels that could move ships across thousands of light years in seconds. Without them, a journey between two worlds could take centuries. The ancient builders had created them long ago, before any living species could remember. No one knew how they truly worked, except the humans. Gate 17 connected the Vorlon system to the central trade routes. Every day, hundreds of ships passed through it, carrying food, medicine, and supplies. When it stopped working, those ships were trapped. Council of Rel received the news during his morning meal. He put down his cup and frowned at the messenger. "What do you mean? It stopped working?" "The gate will not open, Counselor. Our engineers have tried everything. They cannot fix it." Rel waved his hand. "Then send for the human engineers. They always handled the gates." The messenger shifted uncomfortably. "Counselor, the humans are gone. They left 3 months ago." For a long moment, Rel said nothing. He had forgotten. In 3 months, he had not thought about the humans once. They had been so quiet, so invisible, that forgetting them was easy. "Fine," he said slowly. "Find someone else. Surely there are other engineers in the galaxy who can fix a simple machine." But the machine was not simple, and the engineers they found could not fix it. The Tauran engineers studied the gate for weeks. They took it apart piece by piece. They ran tests and wrote reports. In the end, they stood before the council with empty hands and confused faces. "We do not understand it," said the lead engineer, a young Tauran named Krell. "The technology is too old, too complex. We have never seen anything like it." "But the humans understood it," said a voice from the crowd. It was Delegate Mara, a small creature with blue feathers and sharp eyes. She was one of the few council members who had always been kind to the humans. "They fixed these gates for 50 years. They must have left records. Instructions." Krell nodded. "They did. We found the human maintenance logs in the station database. But they are written in a human language, and the humans who could translate them are gone." The council chamber fell silent. For the first time, a cold feeling crept into the hearts of the delegates. It was small, like a tiny seed of doubt. But it was there. Gate 17 stayed broken. 2 weeks later, Gate 43 failed. Then Gate 12. Then Gate 80-9. One by one, the ancient gates went dark. Trade routes collapsed. Ships that should have arrived in hours were now stranded for months. Food that should have reached hungry worlds rotted in cargo holds. Medicine that could save lives sat useless in distant stations. On the planet Vara, the capital world of Council of Rel species, prices began to rise. Simple things like fruit and grain, once cheap and plentiful, became expensive and rare. The people grumbled. They did not understand why their comfortable lives were suddenly so hard. Vrel understood. He sat in his office late at night, reading the human maintenance logs. He could not understand the words, but he could see the dates. For 50 years, a small team of human engineers had traveled from gate to gate, fixing problems before anyone noticed them. They had worked quietly, asking for nothing, keeping the galaxy running like a great machine, and no one had ever thanked them. On Station 7, where Hannah had worked for 20 years, a Tauran engineer named Bren searched through her old office. He was looking for anything that might help him understand the gates. He found notebooks filled with strange symbols. He found tools he did not recognize. He found a small photograph stuck to the wall. The photograph showed Hannah standing with a group of humans. They were all smiling. Behind them was Gate 7, glowing with healthy blue light. Someone had written words at the bottom of the picture in human script. Bren could not read the words, but he stared at the photograph for a long time. He looked at the smiling faces. He looked at the glowing gate. He felt something strange in his chest. Something like sadness. Something like shame. He had worked on this station for 5 years. He had passed Hannah in the corridors hundreds of times. He had never spoken to her. He had never learned her name. She was just a human. Just a worker. Just invisible. Now she was gone, and he needed her desperately. Far across the galaxy, trade ships began to disappear. Without the jump gates, they had to travel through normal space. The journeys were long and dangerous. Pirates waited in the dark places between stars, hunting for easy prey. The Keleth, a peaceful species of traders, lost 12 ships in 1 month. Their economy collapsed. Their people starved. They sent desperate messages to the council, begging for help. The council had no help to give. Council of Rel called an emergency meeting. The Great Hall, once filled with confident delegates, now held only worried faces and angry voices. Everyone was pointing fingers. Everyone was blaming someone else. "This is a crisis," Rel admitted, his voice heavy. "We must find a solution." "The solution is obvious," said Delegate Mora, standing up in her seat. "We must ask the humans to come back." Laughter filled the hall, but it was thin and nervous. Not like the laughter 3 months ago. That laughter had been confident. This laughter was scared. "The humans will not come back," Rel said. "They made their choice. They abandoned us." "We abandoned them first," Mora replied quietly. "For 50 years, we treated them like servants. We ignored them. We insulted them. Can we really be surprised that they finally left?" No one answered. That night, Rel received a report from the medical division. 3 more gates had failed. 27 worlds were now cut off from the central systems. Food shortages were spreading. Diseases that had been controlled for centuries were returning. Rel read the report twice, then threw it across the room. He walked to his window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, on a small blue planet, the humans were living their lives. They were building their future. They were happy, and the galaxy was falling apart without them. "Impossible," Rel whispered to himself. They were just humans. Weak, soft, emotional creatures. They cannot be this important. But the cracks were spreading. And deep down, in a place he did not want to look, Rel knew the truth. The humans had been holding everything together. And now they were gone. On Earth, Minho received daily reports about the galaxy's troubles. He read them carefully, then put them away in a drawer. Hannah asked him once if he felt guilty. He thought about it for a long time before answering. "No," he said finally. "I did not feel guilty. I feel sad. We gave them everything, and they gave us nothing. Now they are learning what they lost. Perhaps, in time, they will learn to be better." Hannah nodded slowly. "Do you think they will ask us to come back?" Minho looked out the window at the green hills of Earth. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. It was beautiful. It was home. "Yes," he said. "They will ask. The question is whether we will answer." The sun disappeared behind the mountains, and night fell over the human world. In the sky above, the stars twinkled peacefully. Unaware of the chaos spreading through the galaxy, the first cracks had appeared. Soon, they would become wounds, and the galaxy would bleed. The Great Hall of the Galaxy Council was the largest room in the known universe. Its walls stretched upward for miles, made of crystal that glowed with soft blue light. Thousands of seats filled the space, each one holding a delegate from a different world. Today, every seat was full. Every eye watched the small figure standing at the center of the floor. Minho stood alone. He was not tall. He was not covered in scales or armor. He had no claws, no wings, no extra arms. He was just a human, dressed in a simple dark suit. Behind him, through the great windows, Earth ships waited in the darkness of space. 100 vessels, packed with supplies and people, ready to leave. The council had laughed when humans first arrived, 50 years ago. They had called them children, primitives, a young species that had barely learned to walk among the stars. The humans had smiled and nodded. They had asked for nothing but a chance to help Dot, and help they did. Minho remembered the stories his grandmother told him. How humans had fixed the broken jump gates that connected distant worlds. How human doctors had cured plagues that killed millions. How human engineers had rebuilt cities destroyed by war. They asked for very little in return. Just respect. Just a seat at the table. Just a voice in the council. They never got it. "Ambassador Minho," said Counselor Vrel, his voice booming through the hall. Vrel was a Tauren, a species of tall beings with gray skin and 4 eyes. He sat on a raised platform above everyone else, looking down at Minho like a parent looks at a misbehaving child. "You have called this emergency session. The council is listening. Speak." Minho took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed nothing. He had practiced this moment for months. He had written his speech 100 times. Now, finally, the words would be said. "Counselor Vrel, members of the Galaxy Council." His voice was calm and clear. 50 years ago, humanity joined this great assembly. We came with open hands and open hearts. We came to learn. We came to share. We came to be part of something bigger than ourselves. He paused and looked around the room. Thousands of alien faces stared back at him. Some looked bored. Some looked annoyed. A few, very few, looked curious. In 50 years, we have given everything we could. Our engineers keep your jump gates running. Our doctors heal your sick. Our builders repair your worlds. Our soldiers have died in your wars. His voice grew harder. And what have we received in return? Silence filled the hall. "Nothing," Minho said. "We have received nothing. No vote in the council. No seat at the table. No voice in the decisions that shape this galaxy. We are workers, servants, tools to be used and forgotten." Counselor Vrel waved one of his long hands. "Ambassador, this is old news. Humanity is a young species. In time, perhaps in a few thousand years, you will earn your place. These things cannot be rushed." Laughter rippled through the hall. Minho heard it and felt his chest tighten. But he did not show his anger. He simply nodded. "I see," he said. "A few thousand years. Of course." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small data chip. He held it up so everyone could see. This chip contains the resignation of Earth and all human colonies from the Galaxy Council. Effective immediately, all treaties between humanity and the Council are cancelled. All human workers will return home. All human aid programs will end. All human engineers, doctors, soldiers, and builders will leave their posts. The laughter stopped. Counselor Vrel leaned forward, his 4 eyes narrowing. "What did you say?" "We are leaving," Minho said simply. "You do not want us here. You have made that very clear. So we will go. We will return to our own worlds and build our own future. Without you." For a moment, no one moved. Then Vrel began to laugh again, louder than before. The sound echoed through the great hall, and soon other delegates joined him. The laughter grew until it filled the room like thunder. "Leave?" Vrel said, wiping one of his eyes. "Where will you go? What will you do? You are nothing without the council. Your technology came from us. Your knowledge came from us. You will crawl back within a year, begging for our help." Minho stood very still. He let the laughter wash over him. He let it sink into his bones. He would remember this moment forever. "Perhaps," he said quietly, "or perhaps you will discover that you are nothing without us." He turned and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. No one tried to stop him. No one said goodbye. Outside the great hall, Hana was waiting for him. She was a small woman with short black hair and tired eyes. She had been the lead engineer at Jumpgate Station 7 for 20 years. Behind her stood dozens of other humans, all of them watching Minho with hope and fear. "Is it done?" Hana asked. Minho nodded. "It is done. We are going home." Hana closed her eyes and let out a long breath. "Good," she whispered. "I am so tired of being invisible." They walked together toward the transport ships. All around them, humans were gathering their belongings and saying goodbye to the alien worlds they had called home for decades. Some were crying. Some were smiling. All of them were leaving. On the bridge of the lead ship, Captain Sungho watched the Galaxy Council building grow smaller and smaller on his screen. He was an old man with gray hair and a face full of wrinkles. He had spent his whole life serving aliens who never learned his name. "All ships report ready, Captain," said his navigator, a young woman named Jizu. Sunho nodded slowly. "Then let us go home." The engines roared to life. One by one, the human ships turned away from the great station and flew toward the distant stars. Behind them, the Galaxy Council continued its business, already forgetting the small creatures who had just walked out of their lives. Counselor Vrel returned to his chambers that night in a good mood. He poured himself a drink and watched the last human ship disappear into hyperspace. "Good riddance," he said to himself. "They were always so emotional, so needy. The galaxy will be better without them." He finished his drink and went to sleep, dreaming of a future without humans. He did not know that his future would arrive much sooner than he expected. And it would be nothing like his dreams. Far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, the humans began to build. They had learned much from the galaxy. They had given much to the galaxy. Now, for the first time in 50 years, they would build something for themselves, and the galaxy would learn very soon exactly what it had lost.